the heart of ancient Asia, nestled among the emerald green hills, lay a valley renowned for its serene beauty and mystical silence. It was said that even the wind whispered softly here, respecting the tranquil aura that enveloped the land. This was the Echoing Valley, and at its center, perched on a modest hill, was a small monastery home to the silent monk. The silent monk was a figure of legend. It was believed he had not spoken a word in decades, yet his presence resonated with profound peace and wisdom. People from far and wide, kings and peasants alike, would journey to the monastery, hoping to glean some of his insight, communicated not through words, but through the simple, mindful actions of his daily life. Many miles away, in a bustling city ruled by ambition and power, lived a warrior named Kaito. He was a man of great strength and skill, feared and respected in equal measure. But beneath his formidable exterior, Kaito was troubled. His heart was a cauldron of unbridled anger and relentless aggression. Years of battle and strife had hardened him, turning his life into a never-ending quest for victory and recognition. One evening, as Kaito walked through the crowded streets, his mind clouded with thoughts of his next conquest, he overheard a conversation between two elderly men. They spoke of the silent monk and the transformative power of his presence. Something in their words struck a chord deep within Kaito. He realized that all his victories and accolades had brought him no peace, only an insatiable hunger for more. That night, under the light of the silver moon, Kaito made a decision. He would journey to the Echoing Valley. He sought not victory, but a conquest of a different kind, a conquest over the demons that raged within him. The journey was long and arduous, taking Kaito through treacherous mountain paths and dense forests. With each step he felt the weight of his armor and sword, symbols of his warrior life, grow heavier. As he neared the valley, the cacophony of the outside world faded, replaced by a profound silence that seemed to calm his restless spirit. Upon reaching the monastery, Kaito was greeted not with grandeur, but with simplicity. The monks, dressed in modest robes, moved with deliberate grace, embodying a peace Kaito had never known. And there, in the center of the courtyard, sat the silent monk, his eyes closed in meditation, a serene smile upon his lips. Kaito approached, his heart pounding, his mind swirling with questions and doubts. But as he stood before the silent monk, a strange feeling overcame him. For the first time in many years, Kaito felt a sense of stillness within himself. It was as if the silent presence of the monk was echoing through the depths of his troubled soul. Without a word, the silent monk opened his eyes and gestured for Kaito to sit beside him. As the warrior took his place, the journey of transformation began. A journey not of words, but of silence, not of conquest, but of inner peace. In the days that followed, Kaito would learn to listen to the silence, to understand the language of peace that the valley whispered. It was the beginning of a profound transformation, a journey that would challenge everything he knew about strength, power, and the true nature of victory. As days turned into weeks, Kaito's life in the Echoing Valley unfolded in a rhythm vastly different from the one he had known. Gone were the clashing of swords and the roar of battle. In their place were the gentle sounds of nature and the quiet routines of the monastery. Each morning, Kaito joined the monks in their daily practices. He learned to tend to the gardens, his hands working the soil, a stark contrast to wielding a weapon. He found a meditative calm in these simple tasks, a calm that had eluded him in his previous life of constant conflict. The silent monk, ever a figure of tranquil guidance, led Kaito through various exercises of mindfulness and meditation. At first, Kaito struggled. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and memories, each more distracting than the last. But as he sat in silence day after day beside the silent monk, something within him began to shift. The first change Kaito noticed was in his breathing. Where once his breaths were short and shallow, often in anticipation of conflict, they now grew deeper, more deliberate. With each breath he felt as if he was exhaling his past aggressions and inhaling a newfound sense of peace. The transformation was not just internal. The monks and even the wildlife of the valley began to respond to Kaito differently. Birds that had once fluttered away at his approach now perched nearby, unafraid. The monks who had first met him with cautious respect now greeted him with warm smiles, recognizing the change that was taking hold. However, the journey was not without its challenges. There were days when Kaito's old habits and impulses surged back with overwhelming force. On such days, the memories of battles, the cries of the vanquished, the adrenaline of combat, all came crashing back, threatening to undo the progress he had made. It was during these tumultuous times that the silent monk's role became crucial. Without uttering a single word, the monk would guide Kaito through these storms of the soul. Sometimes it was through a shared walk in the gardens, other times through a silent tea ceremony. Each action, simple yet profound, helped Kaito navigate the complexities of his inner transformation. One day, as Kaito sat meditating beside the monk, he experienced a moment of profound clarity. For the first time, he felt a deep connection with the world around him, a sense of oneness with nature, the monks, and even the silent monk himself. It was a feeling of interconnectedness that transcended words, a realization that his own peace was inextricably linked to the peace of everything around him. Emboldened by this revelation, Kaito began to delve deeper into his practices. He started participating in the monks' discussions, using gestures and written words to communicate. He found wisdom in the teachings of the Buddha, which the monks shared with him, teachings about the impermanence of life, the importance of compassion, and the quest for enlightenment. Kaito's transformation was becoming evident to all. The warrior who had arrived at the echoing valley, driven by anger and violence, was slowly shedding those layers, revealing a man capable of deep thought, empathy, and inner tranquility. But the journey was far from over. Kaito knew that the hardest part of his transformation was yet to come, confronting the roots of his anger and aggression. It was a path he would have to walk with the silent monk's guidance to truly find the peace he sought. As the seasons changed in the echoing valley, so did Kaito. The once impetuous warrior had begun to embody the tranquility of the place he now called home. His journey of transformation had led him to a crossroads, one where he had to confront the deepest roots of his anger and aggression. This phase of his journey was the most introspective and challenging. Kaito spent long hours alone, often wandering the serene paths of the valley or sitting quietly by the gently flowing stream, reflecting on his past. He revisited memories long buried, memories of his childhood, the early loss of his parents, the relentless drive to prove himself on the battlefield, each a piece of the puzzle that had shaped him into the warrior he had become. The silent monk, sensing the turmoil within Kaito, began to introduce him to deeper meditative practices. They would sit together, sometimes from dawn until dusk, in complete silence, their minds diving into the realms of deep meditation. In these sessions, Kaito learned to face his inner demons, not with resistance, but with understanding and compassion. It was during one such meditation that Kaito had a breakthrough. He saw in the eye of his mind the young boy he once was, driven by fear and insecurity, seeking approval and worth through aggression and conquest. As he observed this younger version of himself, Kaito felt a surge of compassion, not just for the boy he was, but for the man he had become. He realized that his anger was a shield, one he had constructed to protect himself from the vulnerabilities of the world. This realization was both liberating and humbling. Kaito began to let go of his anger, not by force, but by understanding its origins and acknowledging its presence. He learned the Buddhist concept of impermanence, that all things, including his own feelings and experiences, were transient and subject to change. The silent monk guided Kaito in transforming his newfound understanding into a form of active compassion. Kaito started to engage more with the community within the monastery, offering help where he could, listening to the stories of others, and sharing his own journey in non-verbal ways that spoke volumes. The monks, who had watched Kaito's transformation with a mixture of curiosity and respect, now came to see him as one of their own. They shared with him their wisdom, their laughter, and their rituals, enriching Kaito's understanding of the Buddhist way of life. As Kaito's inner peace grew, so did his sense of connection to the world around him. He began to see himself not as a solitary warrior battling the world, but as a part of a larger tapestry of life, interconnected with all beings. This shift in perspective brought with it a profound sense of joy and contentment. However, Kaito's journey was not yet complete. He had one final challenge to face, one that would test the depth of his transformation. The monastery was about to host a gathering, a meeting of various leaders and thinkers from across the region. Among them would be figures from Kaito's past, including rivals and former allies. As the day of the gathering approached, Kaito prepared himself, not with armor and sword, but with the mindfulness and peace he had cultivated. He knew that this event would be a true test of his transformation, an opportunity to demonstrate not to others, but to himself, the extent of the change he had undergone. The gathering would be the stage for Kaito's final act in his journey of transformation, a moment where his past and present would converge in a profound and enlightening way. The day of the gathering dawned bright and clear, a gentle breeze whispering through the echoing valley. The monastery was abuzz with activity as monks prepared to welcome the distinguished guests. Kaito, now more a monk than a warrior, helped in the preparations, his movements reflecting the calm and mindfulness he had learned. As the guests began to arrive, Kaito felt a mix of anticipation and tranquility. Among the arrivals were faces he recognized, former rivals and comrades from his days as a warrior. They came, clad in their regalia, carrying the air of importance and power that Kaito had once known so well. Kaito greeted each guest with a quiet nod and a gentle smile, his demeanor a stark contrast to the brash warrior he had been. His transformation was evident to all, and it stirred a mixture of curiosity and awe among the guests. The gathering was a blend of discussions, debates, and shared meals, all conducted in the spirit of mutual respect and learning. The silent monk, true to his nature, observed in silence, his presence a calming influence on the proceedings. As the day progressed, Kaito found himself in the company of his former rivals. The conversations were cautious at first, as if they were treading on unfamiliar ground, but as they observed Kaito's composure and genuine peace, the barriers began to fall away. One particular moment stood out. A former rival, a general named Hiroshi, known for his quick temper and strategic mind, approached Kaito. The tension between them was palpable, a remnant of their past conflicts. Hiroshi looked at Kaito, searching for signs of the warrior he once knew, but found none. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Hiroshi confessed to Kaito his own struggles with anger and the burdens of leadership. It was a confession that would have been unimaginable in their past lives. Kaito listened with empathy, sharing insights from his own journey without judgment or superiority. This exchange marked a turning point in the gathering. It became more than a meeting of minds, it became a sharing of hearts. The guests, influenced by the atmosphere of the monastery and the example set by Kaito and the silent monk, began to open up about their own challenges and aspirations. As the gathering drew to a close, the guests departed with a sense of renewed perspective. Kaito had not only demonstrated his transformation, but had also inspired a ripple of introspection and contemplation among those who had once known him as a fierce warrior. The monks, and the silent monk in particular, regarded Kaito with a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had faced his past with courage and had shown that true strength lay in peace and understanding, not in aggression and conflict. As the sun set over the echoing valley, Kaito sat beside the silent monk, reflecting on the events of the day. In the monk's silent gaze, Kaito found a message of encouragement and affirmation. He had traversed a difficult path, one that had led him from the turmoil of his inner battles to the tranquility of inner peace. But Kaito knew that his journey was not at an end. It was, in many ways, just beginning. He had learned much, but the path of enlightenment was a lifelong journey. With the wisdom he had gained and the guidance of the silent monk, Kaito was ready to continue his journey, one mindful step at a time. In the weeks following the gathering, the echoing valley returned to its usual state of tranquil harmony. Kaito, now a changed man, found himself at a crossroads. He had embraced the teachings of the silent monk and the ways of the monastery, finding peace in a life he had never imagined for himself. Yet a part of him yearned to share this newfound wisdom with others beyond the valley. He realized that his transformation could serve as a beacon of hope for those still entangled in the web of anger and violence. One morning, as the sun cast its first golden rays over the monastery, Kaito approached the silent monk. In the stillness of the dawn, he conveyed his desire to leave the valley, to venture back into the world and spread the message of peace and mindfulness. The silent monk, understanding Kaito's intention, gave him a silent nod of approval. There were no words needed. The monk's eyes spoke volumes of his confidence in Kaito's ability to bring change to the world outside. Kaito prepared for his journey, but this time he did not don armor or carry a sword. Instead, he wore the simple robes of the monastery and carried with him the teachings and experiences that had transformed him. As he bid farewell to the monks and the valley that had been his sanctuary, Kaito felt a surge of gratitude. He promised to return not as a seeker this time, but as a bearer of wisdom and peace. His travels took him to villages and cities where he shared his story and the teachings of Buddhism. He spoke of the impermanence of life, the importance of compassion, and the pursuit of inner peace. He taught meditation and mindfulness, helping others find tranquility in their turbulent lives. Kaito became known not as a fearsome warrior, but as a wise monk, a messenger of peace. His transformation inspired many, showing them that it was possible to change one's path regardless of past actions. Years passed, and Kaito continued his mission, traveling far and wide, touching the lives of many. His journey eventually brought him back to the echoing valley where his transformation had begun. The silent monk greeted him, still the embodiment of peace and wisdom. Kaito shared his experiences, the challenges and triumphs, the lives he had touched, and the peace he had spread. The monk listened in silence, his eyes reflecting pride and satisfaction. As Kaito settled back into the rhythm of the monastery, he realized that his journey had come full circle. He had left the valley seeking to conquer his inner demons and had returned having conquered hearts with compassion and understanding. In the serenity of the echoing valley, Kaito found his true calling. He continued to live there, a guide and mentor to those who sought the monastery's wisdom. His life, once defined by conflict, was now a testament to the transformative power of peace. And so, the story of Kaito, the warrior-turned-monk, became a legend in its own right, echoing through the ages as a reminder that the greatest victory is not over others, but over the turmoil within, and that peace, once found, can resonate far beyond the silent hills of the echoing valley.